result in listing the requirements that can be automated. Also, based on the nature of the requirements, the automation feasibility needs to be identified, and this is a very important step. So once we have a clear idea on what all we need to automate, we can go towards the factors that needs to be considered for doing our automation. So the first factor and the most important factor is committed management. Till the time the management is not committed towards automation, you as a maybe automation engineer, maybe a test lead, or maybe a QA manager will not be able to succeed in automation. Because we have to take things like time plan approval. So in the time plan approval, we need to take the investment from the management of the time needed for delivering the framework. Or the only thing is that we need the resources, we need the tool, we need the investment. So the investment is also a very important step. Then the next point is necessary steps to be taken to make the stakeholders, management, and the customer understand the importance of this one-time investment. So we need to bargain with the management. We need to tell them the importance, and we need to develop some kind of ROI scenarios also, that if we take this particular automation tool, this is the investment that is required, and this is the benefits that we can result out from this kind of investment. Then the last point is the scheduled time plan approval. So we have to take this approval from the management. And the other point is commitment on the priority also. So the commitment from the management and the senior management on the priority assigned to this activity till the completion of the complete automation framework is developed. So once we get a priority, because what happens generally is that we have a separate automation team, and that team is working on automating the entire product. But somehow, due to some kind of pressures from the client side, they are told to stop the automation activities and pitch in and do the manual testing and deliver the product first, because that gains a higher priority. So till the time the automation does not get a good high priority, we will not be able to do justification with the automation part. The other factor that should be considered is budget cost. So a dedicated budget has to be allocated, which would include the cost related to the testing tool, or the development, the deployment, and the resourcing, and the training part. Training is also very important for every tool. So in addition to all of these points, so here are these points that we need to dedicate the budget for all of these costs. And then the maintenance cost is also one of the important factor, and it should be included. It should be always included. The next part is the process part, and this process is talking about the well-defined quality control processes, or the testing execution standards. So these standards should be of a very well defined. Then there should not be any kind of ad hoc testing, because automation will not sponsor some ad hoc testing, and we will not be able to do justice with the application if we are doing the ad hoc testing, because each and every test cases and test scripts that needs to be automated, it has to be finalized. The next part is to define the tests. So define test means that we need to have very definite test cases that we have identified for doing the automation. And then we have to define the test coverage also. So the test coverage means that how much percentage of this particular module should be tested through the automation tool, and what should be the manual coverage. The next part is to define the test criteria at each stage. So by defining the test criteria for each stage, we mean to say that at every stage of the life cycle of the application, we have to define the test criteria. For example, when we have only 2 modules for testing, so our test criteria will be to test only 2 modules, module 1 and module 3. module 2, and when we have module 3 also coming into the picture, so the test criteria would be to do a function testing of module 3 and as well as do a regression testing of module 1 and 2. So these are the entire process that we need to define before starting off with the automation. The next point is dedicated resources. So this is a very important factor wherein we have to dedicate the resources, or by dedicating the resources, which I mean to say that a dedicated automation team is needed for effective test automation. So if we have some kind of a non-dedicated team, for example, if a person has assigned part-time for automation activities and part-time is doing a manual testing, so obviously the pressure, some point of time there would be a huge pressure from the client, and he will not be able to do justice to the automation, and he would focus towards more of a manual testing. So we have to focus towards the specific part of the project. For example, if a person is assigned to do the scripting part, this person has to focus on the specific requirements which he has, and he has to do scripting and nothing else. Then generally what happens is that there are lots of sharings of tools and information between the project teams. For example, we have some limited licenses of the tool, and that licenses are shared among multiple teams. So we should have one dedicated license for a particular team in order to do justification to the automation, because we cannot say that we are not doing automation because the tool is not opening up or the license is not there. So we should reduce the sharing of resources as such. The next point is for some kind of efficient collaboration and coordination among the teams. So how does it happen? So lots of times I've seen that the automation tests are poorly maintained or are not reused, they are not integrated due to the lack of efficient collaboration and coordination among team members. So this should not happen. If you are planning for doing an effective automation, you should provide some kind of strategy in your automation strategy document or in the automation plan, and you should define a mechanism of collaborating and the coordination among the various teams which are related to each other. Going to the next point, we have dedicated resources. Realistic expectations. So in this realistic expectations, we should not set any kind of unrealistic expectations. So how we can reduce setting up of unrealistic expectations is that, for example, we have just discussed that all tests cannot be automated. Then there will be no immediate payback for investment. It will have to run for a couple of cycles or a couple of releases when the investment can give you some good returns. The next point is to provide adequate ramp-up time, because every team needs to be ramped up to a new tool if we are using a new tool, or maybe we have a tool and we have a new resource, and we should give adequate ramp-up time to a new resource. And then people feel that if we are taking a tool like QTP, you can just do a record and playback and it should work fine. Well, this is not as simple as just record and playback. We have to do scripting. We have to customize the tool based on our own functionality, based on our own application. So it does not mean that if we have a tool, you can just do a record playback and then you don't need any kind of technical skills to use a particular tool. Then again, the same point, no single tool supports all systems or applications. There are lots of tools in the market which are dedicated for some kind of systems or some kind of applications. So just go ahead and do a market research of those tools and take the best possible tool which suits your application, and which you should not go with the wind that if 10 organizations are using QTP, I should also use QTP. The next part is not all testers can write scripts. So you should be, the management should be very well aware that testers, if they are manual testers, you should not force them to write the scripts, because you will not get that kind of quality from them. There are another field of study, that is the automation testing. People or the testers who are interested in doing the automation, they basically learn those techniques. They learn, for example, QTP needs VB scripting. So a person who is good in VB scripting can work better in QTP. For example, Selenium uses Java. So a person who is